Dear listeners, I would like to clarify that this episode will be divided on 3 parts. First part, Kristian is going to talk about his language learning path, how did he learn languages, what interested him into languages, and so on. Second part will be the study shifts that Kristian went through. So Kristian has changed his field of study multiple times, and I asked him to tell us and share his experience with us, how this affected him and what drove him to change his study field many times. Third part and the last one will be about the adventures that Kristian went through. He has experienced so many interesting adventures and competitions, and I told him to share it with us and inspire us. That's it. Enjoy listening. Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Nada's Cloud podcast, and today I have a special guest. He is mashallah a talented person, and he has also a passion in learning languages and so many other stuff. We will discover it today, and I will let him introduce himself more and more. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kristian. I'm from Tampere originally, but I grew up in Helsinki and Vantaa, and now I live in Rovaniemi in Lapland, and I'm 33 years old. Yeah, that sounds really old, but I feel just like when I was 18.
Okay. And actually today I want to ask him about so many topics and so many things which can be useful and helpful for many students and English learners and adventurous people, or people who like adventures and sports and so on. So we will start by talking about languages. Kristian has a passion and he likes to learn so many languages, and he's mashallah fluent in many. And I want to ask you how this started, how you started learning languages and why you were interested in always learning new language and being fluent in it, and challenge yourself to continue learning it. Can you tell us more details?
Sure. So it all started in the year 1990 when I was hearing Finnish language from the womb of my mom. Okay, I think we have to go a bit forward, maybe. So Finnish was my first language and the only language I spoke until the age of 6, and then we moved to Newcastle, England, for 9 months, and after that, 3 years in Estonia. So I had to learn English first, and then after that, when I had learned English to not that good level, but good enough to communicate somehow with my classmates, we had to move to Estonia, and there we watched only German TV. So during those years I also learned German, because we also spent 2 summers in Germany. So when we moved back to Estonia, I already had some knowledge of Finnish, and then English, Estonian, and German. And I think those years were quite crucial because I I saw it in practice how useful languages can be. And then of course in Finland I started learning Swedish, which is mandatory. I had the short Swedish, or it's not short, middle short, like keskipitkä, like middle long Swedish.
Okay.
And I started it on 7th grade, and then in high school I knew at that point that I'm going to apply to med school after high school, but I also wanted to learn languages during high school and use the good chance to learn languages for free. So I took Spanish and Italian besides all the other languages, because I was aware about that I had learned quite many languages, and I didn't want it to go to waste. So I continued, but languages were not the focus at that point. I think it came later when I had entered med school, and like afterwards dropped out from there, because actually languages were a big part of that decision. I just felt that I want to see how far I can go with languages. So after dropping out, I started learning even more. I had courses at the Adult Education Center, the Työväenopisto here in Finland. So during my 20s, I started so many new languages. I had beginner courses in like Arabic, Hindi, Turkish, so many languages, and besides them, I also self-studied many.
Of course.
And now. Oh yeah, I have to mention that after a few gap years, I started studying business administration, and there I also started French and Russian.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
And that was a good decision, because now my wife is a Russian speaker, and she speaks Russian to our son, and yeah, so I'm glad I started at that time, and now I speak quite many languages, but sometimes I feel like I'm not fluent in any languages when I feel like I don't remember a word even in my native language.
I understand. Yes, I passed through that as well. When, for example, even sometimes you forget to name, for example, a bottle of water. You will be like, can you please bring me that? And you forget, even in your native language. And how did you keep the consistency? Sometimes we start learning a language. Okay, maybe you're not fluent in all of them, and I totally understand, since you don't have like Turkish friend, or maybe you don't have the chance to practice all the languages all the time. But in the languages you're fluent in, so how did you keep the consistency, or how did you commit being fluent in them or learning them?
Yeah, so that was the hard part.
Of course.
For example, in high school and after high school, my plan was to not stop learning. So all the languages I had started earlier, I tried to read books or some articles online. Even when I was in med school, I scrolled through the news in different languages. And after dropping out, when I started learning languages in a more serious way, I started using much more applications like Duolingo, and like listening to YouTube videos in different languages. And the consistency is really difficult, because you need so much input. You need to practice the language, and for a long time that was one of the problems, that I had enough input, but I didn't practice in real life enough. But I think a change happened in 2021 when I moved out of Vantaa, because I had been in Vantaa and Vantaa and Helsinki for a long time, and I decided I should start just a year as a digital nomad. I had some income at that time from my language books as well, so I thought, okay, I'll just go somewhere and live with a minimum budget. And that year I started immediately in January language practice with my friends. I contacted different people, and I started daily video calls. So during 2021 I think I had in some point in total maybe 4 or 5 hours of video calls every day. So speaking practice, and besides that I also was listening and somehow in other ways also practicing the language. So during that year I took a big leap forward, and since then I've tried to continue that, but currently it's not like that, because I have studies. I have a 9-month-old baby, so it's much harder now. But I have a good foundation now in many languages, and every now and then I try to have these video calls still with my friends and practice some languages.
Okay. You mentioned about your language book. We will go back to it later. Before that, I want to ask an important question for me, at least. Some people, they think in order to learn a language you need to, join a language school. Okay, maybe at the beginning, or to build foundations, as you said. But do you think a big part of learning a language is autodidact in French? Is it when you teach yourself by yourself is the main part of learning language? What do you think? At least in your case, did you join so many schools or courses online, or did you learn by your own? What are the tips that you can give to people, etc.? You can go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the first 12 languages that I have some knowledge. I had classes first.
Okay, nice.
And I personally like classes, especially in the beginning. There's a teacher I can ask from, and there are other people learning the language, so we can have the dialogues. I personally like it, but there have been many languages for which I haven't had anything, and that could also work, but I think at least if you're not having a language class, it's good to find a language partner from Tandem, HelloTalk, or just randomly contacting people, or your friends, or from somewhere else, social media as well. It could happen. You can find some native speaker who wants to practice your native language, and then you do a language tandem. And I think if you don't have a class, then that's a really good alternative. Okay. But if your goal is to speak, because not all language learners need to learn to speak, but for me, it's always probably the biggest goal in my language learning to be able to speak. So that's why if I'm not on a language class, then I try to find a language partner with whom to practice.
Okay, that's very nice. Now let's go to your language book.
Sure.
Yeah, which I find it very interesting and helpful. I have one at home. So can you tell us how did you get the idea of the book at first, and when did you start writing it or creating it?
Sure. So the book you have actually is the second product line I created. Okay. So people who don't know about the product, it's the Ultimate Finnish notebook, and it has like more than 60 topics, and everything on the left page is from English to Finnish, and the right page is always empty, so people can write more like notes, more vocabulary about the topic.
And I find it's very handy, very helpful.
Thank you. So the first version was actually a fill-in-the-blanks notebook for any language. I had the problem that I had already at that time around 15 target languages, and I felt like there was a huge chaos, and all the knowledge I had about different languages was like chaotically here and there in different, scattered around like different textbooks and like these messy notebooks, these blank journals which I used during my classes. So there were some rows of vocabulary about like greetings or meeting a friend, and then there were like randomly some notes about some exercises, some listening exercises. So there were like 1B, 2C, and it was like messy because you don't know what those notes were afterwards. You cannot see the listening exercise there, and my notes were so messy, and I tried to create a system how to use empty notebooks in a good way, so you could organize all the vocabulary. Of course, I found some videos on YouTube or blog articles how to organize it, but it was too much work. I bought like 4 or 5 blank journals, and I tried it in the beginning, but I was like, oh my god, this is too much work. Of course, I tried to find some notebooks where you would have, I was thinking, are there notebooks where like these kinds of workbooks where you already have the most important vocabulary, and then you have the blank spaces, so you could use it for any language you're learning. Half a year I tried to find something like that. I didn't find it. Okay. I was too lazy to do anything for it. I was like, okay, I should do it, but I'm too lazy now. But I then went to Gran Canaria, and during that trip somehow I got the motivation. I just had the feeling, okay, when I go back home, I really need to create this book. So you got the inspiration then? Yeah, somehow. I don't know how, but immediately when I came back, 5 weeks from morning to evening, I was working on it 10, 12 hours per day. So in the beginning, I had nothing. I started searching for lists of like most important verbs, most important adjectives, and most important like topics. And then I created a template of like topics and like what content I would have there. And somehow in the end, I had the first version of the Ultimate Language Notebook, which is like fill in the blanks notebook. And after that, I have created for this first version, for this notebook, like custom covers. So if you don't want to have the general cover where you have like the monuments of different places around the world, and it has the like title Ultimate Language Notebook, I have like English, Arabic fill in the blanks notebook, English, Portuguese, and then for different varieties of languages I have like custom covers. Like they have I have the flag design of. So for example, I have for Algerian Arabic. It has the cover. It has the cover design is based on the Algerian flag. I have actually for Arabic maybe 30 or more, because I mean there are so many varieties. Like in Saudi Arabia, they have 2 or 3 different, like was it Hijazi and Najd, or I don't know. Yeah. So I have probably for almost all of the Arabic, and for Portuguese, Portuguese is spoken in 9 countries. So I have this for even different varieties of languages, but the content is identical. It's always the same. Nice. But in some point I started paying native translators to create this second product line where everything in the left page is from English to the target language. So that's the book you have for Finnish. I have not for 19 languages currently, but it's much more expensive to create them. So that's why I have like 5 or 6 that have been translated, but I need a final proofreading because I want it to be like high quality. Of course. Yeah. So I've had Persian and Korean, Vietnamese from English. I've had these 3 years now because I haven't had the best financial situation, so I haven't been able to like pay for the proofreading. But in some point, I will have more options also for people who want already the book to have from English to the target language, because some people might prefer the fill in the blanks version where everything is from English, or I actually have the fill in the blanks notebook for 10 languages. So if you're a Finnish speaker, the words are in Finnish, and if you learn whatever your target language is, you like write the translation with your own hand there in the blank spaces. So I have in 10 different languages this fill in the blanks notebook version. So this is basically the book project I have, and that's also one important thing that actually brought my wife to me, because I met her when I was finding those translators and proofreaders, and she found my project, the Ultimate Finnish Notebook. Nice. So she saw some posts about the book that you have also, and she was asking, do I have for Russian? And I had, but I needed a proofreader, so I hired her, and then I hired her to do the Ukrainian one as well. And then when I started my 2021 language year, she was one of the people I asked to practice languages, and that's actually what led to our marriage initially. So the book project has been quite beneficial for me. And I want to say something as well, because when I used to learn languages, it was actually annoying that I have to open, the course book, and then I used to have also notebook where, I have to write the notes of the teacher, and also another small notebook to write like translation or like some terms or some idioms that I want to translate. And whenever I want to revise them again or learn them again out of the class, then it's somehow, annoying that you have to open 3 books, 2 notebooks and 1 big book, and then you have to look here and there and here and there and keep your focus. That's tiring for me. That's exactly the problem I had when I started searching for a book like this.
So I believe that it's not annoying only for me or you. So not only for us, but for so many people. And the idea that I have to open many books to revise or learn a language, that will like sometimes, block you. You will be like, okay, I will do it later, and procrastinate and get lazy to do it. So having everything in one book, it's very handy, very good. And I see also the prices of your notebooks are actually budget friendly, so they are affordable to everyone.
I wanted them to be like affordable.
Yeah, I see. And talking about projects, I want to ask you about your current project.
Sure.
Yeah, so give us please more details about what you're doing. I saw that you're creating an application and you're asking about survey and etc. And you're doing like language learner tests and so on. That's very impressive. Can you give us more details?
Yeah, this is a like big project. There are like separate things here that I try to merge somehow, because I have created the like 80 language learner types test, which is kind of separate project from the app, but I will somehow probably try to like blend these like inside the one brand. So the 80 language learner test, it's a bit like the 16 personality, Myers-Briggs personality test. Mm-hmm. So based on the 4 language learner skills, reading, writing, listening, and speaking, I have created like there are 80 different combinations based on what's your primary skill, your target skill, and then what additional skills you use, because you might only use like if your primary skill is reading and your target skill is writing and you don't want to learn spoken language, then you would only have 2 of these. And anyways, by combining all these skills in different ways, you will get like 80 different combinations, from which only around 52 or 3 are like realistic. Mm-hmm. But so this is just a fun theoretical project I have. So I'm still trying to interview people and see what their type is, and maybe some people like it and maybe they spread it, but yeah, that's one project. And then... Can
I comment before you continue?
Sure.
Because you interviewed me, actually. Yeah. You can find the interview in his YouTube channel. And I found it impressive, actually, because I never thought about that like that. There is people who have like certain primary skills and target skills, and how it affects their learning process or learning the language. And I find it very impressive, actually. And like I invite people to contact you if they want to do that test, and it's really, really interesting. And you haven't mentioned, that you like put like similarity or something with Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
That's so what makes it funny.
Yeah,
actually.
it's so in the test, when you choose your primary skill, which you use the most in your language learning, so you're divided into 4 different like houses, a bit like in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Because there are the houses of readers, writers, listeners, and speakers, and inside these houses, the people can have as a target skill a different skill. So, for example, I have reading as my primary skill. Okay. So I'm in the book house of readers, but and my target skill is speaking, but there can be people whose target skill is also reading, listening, or writing. So inside all these 4 houses, the people can have 4 different target skills, and also the additional skills, and then you get all the combinations. But anyways, in one house you have 20 different combinations in total.
Okay.
But
that's what makes it 80.
That's why it's 80.
Okay.
And because you can have the same primary and target skill, that makes it like 20 and not like 16.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if you multiply 4 with 4, I mean that's 16.
Yeah.
And then when you multiply them also with the possible additional skills, then it should be like 4 times 16, which it would be 64 or what? Yeah, 64. But because your primary and target skill can be the same, that's why it becomes 80. But I try to make it fun and like create mascots for each of the 4 houses and like slogans. The people who speak, who have speaking as their primary skill would have a slogan like "Speak from day one," or these kind of phrases that they use online and in forums. Yeah. But "Speak from day one" would not be for everyone.
Of course, that's challenging.
Yeah. So people, if I create these houses and these slogans and all the content, people might actually identify themselves. I try to make it fun but also useful so that people can find out their language learner type and then see other people who have the same type and see their language resources they use and the ways they learn. So I hope to create some clarity in language learning.
So I see that the survey or the tests you're doing, it's it's not boring since it has all of these features, And I think I was the first one in the house of listening, isn't it?
Yeah, you were, because you were the second person I interviewed.
I'm trying to do the show off, Okay, so and that was about the project, and now let's talk about the application. Or what
application?
Website or something you're doing? Can you give us more details?
Sure. So currently the problem with language learning vocabulary apps is that, at least for me, that Duolingo, for example, which I've used 11 years now.
Okay.
So they have only sentences, and which can be really random.
Yes.
And many other vocabulary apps also, they have just phrases, and I think it should be also always question answer pairs, or if not question, then a phrase and then a reaction. Anyways, I would say, question answer pairs. Yeah. Because then you always learn how to react to something. Yes. Okay, if there are examples where it's not the question. For example, if you greet, then always the answer to the greeting. But let's speak now about question answer pairs. So in my application, the basic concept is to have these question answer pairs. And also the grammar explanations are quite vague usually, especially in Duolingo. They used to have, I don't know, nowadays, because I haven't used Duolingo that much lately, but they used to have these sections before the lessons about the grammar points about certain topics, but they were quite long, and you could just read Wikipedia. It's the same. And I think I think Closemaster has done it the best way. They always have, after each sentence, the explanation, and then they explain each word of the sentence. So if it's a language like Finnish, which is agglutinative, they also tell in which case the noun is and why, maybe. And it has been very useful in maybe Korean, Japanese that I'm learning, and I'm a beginner. So the explanations are really good, but in Closemaster, the sentences are still a bit too random, which is a bit boring.
Yes.
It's fun to use, but after a while, I think the phrases are too random and not that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
But Closemaster has many good sides, and it's currently probably the most useful app for vocabulary for me.
Okay.
But I will. In my app, I will have the question answer pairs, and I will do the same way as Closemaster. So after each question and answer, you can click the explanation, and you can get the explanation of the question and answer both. Mm-hmm. And maybe in addition some cultural tips and something about the colloquial versions.
Yeah, actually Kristian showed me an example of what he is preparing, and it's really, really impressive. Yeah, as far as I remember, if you remember, you showed me.
Yeah. So
it's like it makes the learner not only learn but also discover something new.
Yeah.
Then so they will have like this curiosity or like ambition or something, like to discover more and more and learn more and go on with the examples and with exercises.
Yeah, I can explain more about that. So I have like two different difficulties. The other one is basics, mm-hmm. and the other one is trivia. Okay, I might change it. I might actually create more, like you could choose A1, A2, B1, B2. I'm not sure yet, but currently 2. Mm-hmm. Basics would have all the important things for beginners and maybe intermediate students. Mm-hmm. And for example, if we speak about days of the week, you would have questions as what day comes after Monday, what day is before Sunday, what day is between Monday and Wednesday, what days are the weekend, or all the important things that you need. And in the trivia section you would have questions like after which god was Tuesday named after, or stuff like that. So you would learn about history, culture, mythology. Okay. So basically things that would be interesting for natives as well.
Yeah.
So there would be something between 50 to 70 different topics, and basically you will be able to learn interesting stuff about each of the topic. And some of the, like a big part of the questions and answers are the same in each language that is available, but I will add some that are specific, like language specific. Like if you learn Finnish, there might be some questions about in the topic of sports, maybe about the wife carrying world championship or the cell phone throwing world, these weird sports that we have in Finland. Because you would learn about the culture at the same time, and this would be somewhere in the trivia section. And so I will try to create the database of questions and answers so that I could easily add by machine translation even all the 200 languages that Google API has, the Google Translate. And then I will go myself through the Finnish ones, and then I will try to create a contributor feature so that people who are natives could actually edit or add translations even. If they find a question with, like, let's say, what day comes after Monday, they could add a translation in their language if they speak a really rare one, like, let's say, some Berber languages from North Africa, which are quite rare in applications, or some Sami languages. So the idea is that I will target like the really small languages.
Okay.
I will definitely have the big ones, but I will
gives the opportunity maybe also for the small languages.
Yes, and in the beginning, I will probably have many languages that have just machine translations, and there will be mistakes. But I think they are quite good nowadays. For example, in Persian, when I practiced with my friend, I went through the topics of my notebook. I created PowerPoints in Persian. I just copy-pasted from Google Translate. And then I tried to read, because they don't have transliterations on Google Translate for Persian. And for Arabic they have, but so I tried to read as well as I could, and my friend corrected me. And I wrote like tips for myself how to pronounce. But I noticed that from the more than 60 topics, I always had in the PowerPoint 10 questions, 10 answers. And I noticed that there were many times when there were no mistakes. So this is why I think it's better to have these machine translations first for, let's say, at least 10,000 questions, because probably a big part is correct. And anyways, it's better to have 10,000 questions for Northern Sami or Tamazight or something, from which 80 or 90% are correct. Then, like, people could during the years then always correct. And so the system I try to design is that the database is so agile that I can easily get the translations for all the different language pairs. And if there are, like, let's say 100 different languages available, then you could freely, like, choose the base language and the target language. Because in some apps like Duolingo, you have seen that they have English for Tamil or Thai, but you don't have Thai or Tamil for English speakers. So you don't have this cross translation or somehow, how would you say it? But in my app, I still have to ask some people who are more like advanced in these, but I think I know how to do it so that you could choose like any combination from, if you have these 100 languages, you could choose English Tamil or Tamil English, or Northern Sami English or Northern Sami Tamazight, or like this. And there so this is why I would say that I try to solve the problem of not having almost any good applications for small languages. So I try to create a system where I can easily add more and more languages in a much more, like, in a faster and more agile way than compared to Duolingo or other vocabulary apps. So that's what I'm doing. But because I'm a first-year student and my skills are really basic, so I have to learn much more.
First-year student in what?
True. Computer science. And that's why I don't have a timeline. My goal is to complete this before I graduate. Of course, I would try to make it as fast as possible, like a prototype or something that works. But
because we want to use the app.
But I cannot promise currently anything. But at least my own plan is that during my studies I will be able to finish it and to at least have it for myself if no one uses it, and then I will at least have the skills to create a web application, and also after creating the mobile versions for Android and iPhone, I would have the full stack skills to create applications for other people as well. If I mean, in case this is a failure, I mean, it's not going to be failure because I'm creating this for myself, and I'm really excited about it because I can imagine using it for Arabic, Japanese, all the languages that are a bit difficult and for which there are not that good materials, or there are like Duolingo and some other vocabulary apps, but
they are limited.
They are limited, so that's why I would really want this, so I could learn also the interesting stuff like through these languages.
And actually, I loved as well how are you integrating the culture or questions about the culture in the application, as you mentioned, because language and culture are always connected. And sometimes the more you know about the culture, the more you get interested to learn more and deepen your knowledge in the language.
Like I don't know, how much have you learned culture from Duolingo?
Nothing, actually, like very, very limited.
I think currently people, I don't know, how do you learn about the culture then? Do you use it, learn it through any apps or?
Actually, to be honest, when I wanted, before coming to Finland, I was using YouTube. So through YouTube I was like checking like vlogs or native speakers, but like Finnish people who do videos in English and they talk about Finland. So I was checking them out. So I never relied on applications or language or vocab applications to know more about the culture. But of course, if there were any, that will be like time that will save a lot of my time.
I think YouTube is probably the thing for most people currently learning vocabulary, and of course this application is not going to change that. It's just another resource also, because I listen to, like, I watch YouTube a lot, and especially the like easy languages when they interview people on the streets. I think that's really good. But I also like to use vocabulary apps, and that's why I want some applications where
you merge together culture and vocab.
Exactly.
So please do it for us.
I will try it.
We're making pressure on Kristian.
I might try to find some classmates to like join my project if they are like better in the programming part. But
and I would like to mention that we're actually proud of you. Because you're making this project. I know that it necessitates a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of efforts, and it's not easy with a family and a kid and studies and so many other stuff. So take your time. I'm just kidding.
It's
it's challenging.
It's challenging, but now it's my number one priority from my projects. So in the evening when my son goes to sleep, after
your
8 o'clock, so I might have time before that, during the day, but I cannot concentrate that well. So after 8, I usually until 2 or even 3 o'clock in the night, I try to make some progress with this application project or something related to it. Like if it's not about the programming part, then about like the surveys and interviewing people. I have both the survey, but the survey is not complete. I think it's better also to have have these Zoom calls where I can talk.
Yeah, clarify to the people about the test and survey.
And also about their language learning habits and what. So at the same time, I get answers for my language learn type test and for the application as well.
Yeah, and by the way, I will leave the Instagram and the link to your survey and Instagram, everything in the description, so you can contact Kristian if you want to get an interview with him. Just drop him a DM, or if you want to fill in also a survey. I saw it on your Instagram about the application or something. Can you tell the people about it?
Sure. So like Nada told you, you can contact me on Arctic Polyglots on any social media. I'm mostly best available on Instagram for this, but also I have Tumblr, Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah, I will leave them all in the description.
Yeah, and I have the survey for the application and language learning habits, or the language vocabulary, how people use vocabulary apps. I have a survey for that, and I have it on Instagram. I don't have it anywhere where you could always find it. I don't know. Maybe we can include it in the video, maybe somewhere. Just a link. So
yeah, sure.
In the link, I ask about people's vocabulary app usage. So what apps they use and how satisfied they are. Actually, no one has said they are totally satisfied. I have from 1 to 5. So 5 is very satisfied, but no one from the 13 who have answered is very satisfied. So that's good for me, maybe, because in my dreams, when I launch the app, there will be more 5s there. Anyways, if I manage to do it like I plan, I will give myself a 5, but that doesn't count. Okay. That doesn't count. So that's why I'm also doing the surveys and asking what kind of struggles people have, and who might be the people who would enjoy using an app like this, because I know that not everyone is like me. And not everyone might even enjoy using the app. So I try to start finding the people who would like using it. So when I have something to show, when I can launch it, I already know at least 10-20 people who I know would enjoy using it.
Yeah, that's true. Now let's go to switch, talking about studies and talking about languages. So Kristian has switched or changed his field of study so many times. So I would like to discuss deeply that, or at least I want to know more how this adds to you or affect you in positive or negative way.